Well, welcome to Spirit of Peace, where and welcome on this beautiful Sunday morning. So glad to have all of you here. Big special welcome to our guests. And for all of you who are watching online, on Facebook, on YouTube, welcome. If you haven't already, like us on Facebook, subscribe. We would love to have you be a part of our virtual community, and that is a way how you can do so. And if you'd like to be here in person, we're open for service in person. Have to wear a mask, a few other precautions, but feel free. The doors are open. Couple note about some upcoming services. So next Sunday is Palm Sunday. It should be an exciting day after a few weeks where other people have been preaching. I've got something good. I'm ready to go. At least I hope it's something good. And Easter. Easter Sunday we have two services. There's one at 9 o'clock, and that one is RSVP only. And to be a part of that service, get in contact with Leanne. clife@sopucc.org. And that service, that service, it's for people who would prefer to be in a controlled environment, because who knows how many people are going to show up at Easter. Could be 3, could be 300. Who really knows? This way, for people who they want to come worship for Easter, but they just want to know just how many people were there. We're going to keep the number under 50. So again, please RSVP with Leanne. How many spots do we have right now, Leanne? Okay. All right. So out of 50 spots, we got 44 that are available. There is plenty of room. 41. Okay. Get in contact with Leanne. At 10:45, we are going to have a second service. That one's going to be open, just like this. Whoever shows up will accommodate you, and that one will be recorded. 9 a.m. service won't be recorded. So just another difference there. Then the following Sunday, April 11th, it's a very exciting day. Confirmation Sunday. That service is going to be closed just to the confirmands and their friends and family. Here, the exciting news is we got 10 of them. That's great. And so we want to make this service, make it something special for the families, and knowing everyone's at a different level with COVID, that service is just for the friends and families. And if you are a confirmation family and you are watching this, please RSVP to Leanne. Again, clife@sopucc.org. Let her know how many people are coming for Confirmation Sunday on April 11th. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, this is the last of our Lenten journey, Stories That Light the Way. And we have Jodi Schwab, who will be giving a message called A Different Kind of Spring House Cleaning. And I really do hope it is a different kind, because my workroom downstairs in the basement is atrocious. And I'm looking at it thinking, I got to get there and clean that, but I don't want to do it. But I got a feeling that's not what you're going to talk about. It's going to be something great. I'm looking forward to it. So now I'd like you to pass the peace. For those of you who are here, wave to your neighbor. For those of you at home, or even if you're here, take out your cell phone, send out a text message, Facebook message, whatever. Reach out to somebody, let them know you care. And so now I invite you to join together with me in a moment of prayer. What a beautiful day this is, God. You've called each of us to gather together, whether here in the sanctuary or virtually from our own homes, for the purpose of standing in awe at your mysterious ways. And as we enter into the last of this Lenten journey, God, may the light of your Spirit shine bright so that we can see the way and we can be inspired to follow the way. We lift this prayer up to you. Amen. And I invite you to join for our opening hymn, Morning Has Broken. Thank you, men's trio. If there are any children, welcome you to stay in your seats, come up to the front row, or join me, take a seat by one of these animals, or for those who are at home, gather around the screen. Hello. Welcome back. Hello. How are you today? Good, good. So, something happened a couple days ago. On the 20th of March. What was so special about that day? Do you know? Yes. The first day of spring. One season has ended, and another season is beginning. What do you like to do for spring? Is there anything special you like to do? Plant flowers, good. What else? Jump on the trampoline. You got one? Play outside. Let's ask some of these people. What do you like to do in the spring? Go camping. Open the windows. Go for walks. Dig in the dirt. Mow the lawn. Fly a kite. Ride bicycles. I got a dog, and you know what she loves to do? She loves to go out on the deck when it's sunny, and she'll just lie on her back with her legs in the air and just sit there for hours. She loves being out in the sun. So, one of the times that we can see the presence of God, yes, look at that. That's a deer or a caribou or some kind of animal with horns. And that's winter. That's a winter scene. I'm so glad that you picked that up, because one of the things that happens with those animals with the changing of seasons is their antlers fall off. Isn't that cool? So we can see the presence of God in the changing of seasons. It's winter. I don't know, do you like winter? You like winter? Do you like winter? You won't like winter when you're old enough to drive, trust me. That'll change. But, there's a lot of people who don't like winter because, well, we're inside and it's dark, and some people get sad during the winter. So spring is this season of new life. And that's what God and our faith is all about. Wherever there's cold and darkness, well, that goes away. And then bright sunshiny days and warmth are always ahead. So we can see God in this time of year. Let's pray. God, we give our thanks for the changing season and for the promise that sunshine, warmth, and happiness is about to come. We lift this prayer up to you. Amen. All right. So glad that each of you is here. Thank you. You can go back to your seats. For all of you at home, thank you for watching. Three readings that I'd like to share with you. First one, Psalm 51, verse 10. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Second reading, Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Third reading, an ancient Anastasis saying, don't believe the dark whisperings that invite you to walk backward. At any time in your life, you have the power to turn forward.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Charles, for asking me to share. I have to tell you that when he did ask me that, I was really wondering what I would even talk about. And then I remembered, oh yes, it's Lent, and it's springtime. Springtime is one of my favorite times of the year. And then I began to think about, oh yes, all that spring house cleaning that begins about this time of the year. And so I thought maybe I could tell you a little bit about my family and how we shared our spring house cleaning, and then also a little bit about a new kind of spring house cleaning that I have learned to do. So, okay. Let me tell you first about spring house cleaning and what it meant to me when I was growing up in an often chaotic family of 7 people. I was raised on a cattle ranch about 30 miles west of Mobridge, South Dakota. The land I grew up on was a narrow strip sandwiched between the Standing Rock Reservation to the north and the Cheyenne Reservation to the south. It was a beautiful place to live, and I think you can see from that slide up there, that is an example of one of the shots looking from our ranch and down over into the valley. It was a beautiful place to live with many rolling hills and prairies to play on and explore. And while living there was an experience that I am grateful for, there was always a lot of work to do in a farming and ranching business. So, spring house cleaning usually started around this time of year before Lent was over. March was nearly done, and that meant the calving season was also coming to an end. Spring was just showing some first signs of green grass, and the snow was mostly melted. And even though we were fairly isolated where we lived and really didn't have that much company, it didn't seem to matter to our mother. About this time of the year, Mom would begin to fret about all the accumulation of debris in the house. I can only imagine how many manure-packed boots, dirty outside work gear, coats, gloves, and other paraphernalia would pile up at the end of a long winter. I'm sure it seemed to her like it was an endless battle of trying to keep the house in some semblance of order. Sometimes we even had a few baby calves and other little critters stay inside for us with a few days, depending upon the weather. And then, finally, it would begin. It was as if Mom couldn't take one more minute of the piles of clutter. She would announce one day that spring house cleaning was beginning. Now, Mom liked to start at the top and work down, so that meant cobwebs off the ceiling, next the windows and the drapes, cupboards and closets, windows washed, finally the floors. No easy task with a husband who worked sun up to sundown out in the elements, 5 kids, 1 or 2 cats in the house, couple of dogs, and a constant trail of dust and mud coming in from the outside. So everyone, though, no matter their size, was assigned a job. I don't know if it was the Quaker influence in my father's background or the fact that my mother's mother had been a hired housekeeper in her younger days that had imparted that penchant for cleanliness. But Mom would almost get a glazed look in her eye until every nook and cranny was cleaned. Didn't do any good to complain about the task at hand. It was a family affair and something we knew we needed to do. The spring cleaning didn't just end, though, at the front door. Next came the digging of the garden beds, the trimming of the trees and hedges, and compiling of the winter garbage left outside. There was a huge dumping pit about a mile or so from the house where we all would take all of our broken items. It was exciting to see just how high that dump pit could get, and maybe even more exciting if there was a fire to burn it all. Then there was other things to clean. We had a lot of buildings on our farm, and there were sheds like the chicken house. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of cleaning out a chicken house, but it is not the most pleasant one. We had a big barn, one of those big red barns with a weather vane at the top, and our father would start at the top with the hay mow and clean that all out, get it ready for clean hay. And below, the stanchions and the pens were cleaned with a manure pitchfork and shovel. Fortunately, this was mostly my father's job. I don't know if he didn't trust us in all of that muck and mire, but he usually did the most of the work. However, I do remember one time where one of my younger sisters, who just happens to be here today, so I have to pick on her, she was pretty small, about 5 or 6, and she was inside the barn on a little fence post overlooking my father working below, and she was telling him, she was dramatizing the story of the 3 little pigs, and I don't know if it was on one of those huffs or puffs, but she fell right over into that mucky mire, and I have to tell you, pretty close to falling into an outhouse, about what it would have been like. And of course, then my father, he hastily grabbed her up, rushed to the house with her, and then my mother had the arduous task of cleaning copious amounts of disgusting material from her eyes, nose, mouth, hands, and clothing. Not funny at the time, and I think if it were today, probably there would have been an emergency drive to the nearest hospital or clinic. But since we lived about 30 miles out, you didn't easily go to a doctor. And, well, here she is. She survived. This whole process of sanitizing our house, yard, and outside buildings normally lasted about 2 or 3 weeks before Mom would announce that spring cleaning was done. Somehow, this seemed to magically correlate with Easter. The work of cleaning and renewing was done just in time to celebrate the glorious Easter season. It was a time of new life, made even more evident by all the baby creatures on our farm, from baby calves, newborn colts, chickens, goslings, kittens, puppies, you name it. And everywhere we walked, we could see the earth springing forth with new grass. Yes, beautiful scenes like that. Beautiful prairie flowers like sweet peas and bluebells, and of course the prairie pasque, blooming cacti and tree buds. About every third year there would be wild clover carpeting the hills, which made everything so colorful, and the bees liked it too. But not all was new birth and sweet renewal. March could spawn some pretty devastating scenarios, such as the unforgettable blizzard of 1966, which I won't go into, but if you've been around in South Dakota long enough, you would remember the blizzard of 1966. And a blizzard that raged on for 3 days, 70, 80 mile an hour winds, dumping 30 to 40 inches of snow, killing a half a dozen people, and thousands upon thousands of cattle. We were lucky. We had a coal furnace, we had food in the house, and we had a father that was very proactive, which meant that we were out there saving those baby calves and dragging them to safety, so we managed to save every one of our critters. There were prairie fires in the spring, along with tornadoes, and of course, those little rattlesnakes and coyotes started to come out of their wintry den about that time. But it seemed there was always something to contend with, but yet it appeared to us that the renewal of the earth and new life was always the victor in the never-ending battle between life and death. Well, years later, I had a house, family of my own, and children, and I did my spring house cleaning. There was that little idea echoing in the back of my mind that if you don't do a job right, well, don't do it. And I'm quite sure that I almost drove my family crazy with my almost OCD-like behavior when it came to keeping the house clean and tidy. It's one of those areas of my life that I wish I could replay. If I could, I would have let my girls have their rock collections, their piles of feathers, and other items they decorated their rooms with for a lot longer, maybe till they even grew sick of them. Both of my daughters liked to create stories and paintings, and while they were encouraged to do this, their handiwork didn't often last that long on display because I was more concerned with keeping the house clean. Years later, when moving, I opened a box out of my closet and discovered that I had at least saved some of their papers, and then I felt a little pang of remorse for not letting them exhibit them until they chose to take them down. What would it have mattered if I had allowed them to display their creations a bit longer? Well, having learned to be organized has served me well with being a teacher, a librarian, and a busy mom. I can see that I certainly created a lot of unnecessary stress for myself and my family. And if I had it all over to do again, I might follow some popular housekeeping quotes such as, "This house was clean yesterday, sorry that you missed it." Or, "My housekeeping style is best described as, there appears to have been a struggle." Seriously though, I think the perfect slogan might be, "Our house is clean enough to be healthy and dirty enough to be happy." And now I'm older, spring house cleaning is still a yearly ritual, but it's not done in the same frenzied way that it used to be. There's just 2 of us now, and although I think my husband could equal 3 teenage boys with all his messy projects, it just doesn't seem to matter that much anymore. What has begun to take its place is kind of a little spiritual house cleaning. And of course, our spiritual house cleaning could come anytime, any day. But I think Lent is the perfect time to really think about those things that we want to eliminate. Letting go the clutter from our hearts, our minds, and our souls. And perhaps that ancient practice of giving something up for Lent is not such a bad one after all. So here are some things that I have been trying to incorporate into my spiritual house cleaning. First, I examine my heart. Is there someone I need to forgive? Is there something I need to forgive myself for? Do I need to ask for forgiveness? Being in a state of unforgiveness keeps us weighed down and unable to move forward. And you know, today you don't often hear a lot about forgiving each other, and maybe that's just what we all need. Cleaning up my self-talk. Am I telling myself positive things, or am I dwelling on the negative? Yeah, something I really need to work on. I have learned that loving myself includes telling myself really good things. I try to be my own best friend, and that's not always easy. I try to watch for that clutter of unhelpful negative talk and make a goal of eliminating anything that's not helpful or loving to myself. And how do I talk to others? Am I listening enough? Am I respectful? One thing I need to work on is how I react to other drivers on the road. If anyone's driven with me, they kind of know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I can spew out some fairly unladylike words at other drivers. I guess that was brought sharply to my mind once when driving in heavy traffic and another driver darted right in front of me, causing me to slam my brakes on. Without thinking, out came an explicative, and from the back seat, one of my little granddaughters says, "Grandma, I think maybe you should have your mouth washed out with soap." Well, gulp, caught in the act. From that point on, I have made a concerted effort to try to clean up my language, especially when in traffic. Instead, I try to immediately send the other driver a blessing. Doesn't always work, but most of the time I feel a little bit better about it. And finally, renewing my mind. Garbage in equals garbage out. So I try to feed my mind with uplifting poetry, spiritual writings, prayers, positive affirmations, listening to relaxing, beautiful music, going on nature walks, keeping the TV, the social media, and computer use to a minimum, doing something helpful for someone else without complaining or even letting anyone know that you did it or taking credit for it. It has really been a long year for all of us. Some of us have suffered some tremendous losses. And when this happens, it can be tough to remember our connection with the divine. Being aware of my connection with God helps me rise above anything that might bring me down. Reminding myself that God's good is everywhere present, I just have to remember that in God, we live and move and have our being. And one of my favorite places to go to be renewed is back to that ranch where I grew up. And I haven't been there for a while, so it is way past time. And as you can see from this last slide, it is a beautiful, restful place. On the top of that bluff, my brother, who now ranches on that particular ranch, has erected, he's put a place to sit, and you can just gaze off and look for miles off into the distance. And you cannot climb to the top of that butte without feeling something. This is where my dad's ashes have been strewn. That's where my mother's ashes will join him. It's where my mother and father stood and looked over the land when they were very young and decided to purchase that land. So it's a very meaningful place, and upon that particular day, I was sitting with two of my youngest grandchildren, my grandson on the one side, my granddaughter on the other. The wind was blowing, and you can just feel it when you're up there. And I heard my little granddaughter give out a little yelp of joy, and I looked over at her just to see her eyes closed, her mouth open, and she was making that connection, I'm quite sure, with her Creator. Words unsaid, but just automatic reflex for her arm to go up into the air, and her head was kind of back, her eyes were shut, and she was just loving it. And so whenever I look at that picture, and my daughter was behind us, she snapped it just at the right time. Whenever I look at that picture, I just like to think about that connection that she must have been feeling, and the connection that we were all three feeling up there. So we can't keep the clutter out, whether it's in our houses or whether it's in our hearts. It is a continuous process and journey of eliminating those things that are unnecessary to our mental and spiritual health and replacing them with something healthier and more positive. When I forget that I am one of God's beloved, I'll think of this moment and I'll try to remember the wonderful connection that my granddaughter was feeling. And I wish that for all of you in this Lenten season.
Thank you, Jodi. Thank you. And now we have My Lord, What a Morning by the men's trio in Carl. Thank you, men's quartet. That was beautiful. We enter now into a time for prayer. There's a couple prayers that I would like to lift up. We need to keep in our prayers Gladdy, friend of Mona's, and Tim's uncle. Both of them are facing health issues. And a couple joys. A joy that it's yesterday, Spirit of Peace members, it's attended a transgender rights rally. So thank you, Heather, Candace, and Becky, for representing Spirit of Peace as well as making a stand for transgender rights. Another joy, it's been such a joy to, the stories that light the way theme, to have heard from so many great dynamic speakers. So thank you again to everyone who spoke. Thank you, Mona. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jodi. This has been such a blessed experience.
Thank you, Pastor Charles.
Ryan said, thank you, Pastor Charles, because I did share too. So this has been wonderful. We should do this again sometime soon. It's also a joy to get to see all of you. There are 5 of the 8 members of the search committee gathered here in one room. Last time that happened, what was that, December of 2019? Wow. Let's take a moment for silent prayer. God be with us and bless us today, tomorrow, and all of our days. We give our thanks for the changing seasons and for the promise that sunshine and warm days are just right around the corner. God, we ask that you be with all those who are celebrating, for all those who have great joys, and also be with those who carry heavy burdens and for whom this is a season of sorrow. Life is beautiful, but it can also be tragic. And so be there to celebrate with us in the good times and cry with us in the bad times. Remember in our prayers all of our joys and concerns, all those that have been named. And God, you know there are many more that remain silent yet weigh heavily on our hearts. We give our thanks to you that no prayer is so silent that you cannot hear it. We lift these prayers up using the words Jesus taught in the Lord's Prayer. And though those words have changed over the years, their meaning remains the same. Creator God who dwells in and above the universe, how sacred and beautiful you are. May your love reign supreme, and through your love may we build a better tomorrow. Give us today all we need to thrive. Please forgive the harm we've done and help us to forgive the harm done to us. Keep our feet on the road to righteousness and help us steer clear of the detour into evil. You are always with us, both in this life and the next, forever and ever. Amen. It is time now for the offering. A big thank you to everyone who has given to support Spirit of Peace. We cannot do our mission and ministry without you. So if you are here in person, you're welcome either now or sometime after the service. Basket is up front. Feel free to bring your offering up. For those of you who are watching at home, If you would like to give, there are 3 ways that you can give. You can give via text message. You can mail in a check. Or you can visit our website. Click the donate button. Also, we're doing our One Great Hour of Sharing offering. There was information in that came out in the e-blast last week. This is one of the 5 for 5 UCC special offerings. And if you'd like to give to that, either go to our website, click donate, choose One Great Hour of Sharing, or you can mail in a check. Just put in the memo, One Great Hour of Sharing, or OGHS for short. I invite all to give and to give generously. And let us join together for our closing hymn. Big thank you to everyone who made this service possible. Verge, Richard, Dan, Carl, thank you. The sound booth in the back, Ryan, Kim, Heather, Walt, Fletcher, thank you. Leanne, thank you. Our greeter, Terry, thank you. For all of you who are here, thank you. For all of you watching online, thank you. Jodi, once again, thank you. So a reminder, when you are out and about in public, wear your masks, social distance, wash your hands, and most importantly, if you haven't already, go get the vaccine. Pretty soon this is all going to be over. Won't it be great? Now I leave you with one final blessing. Go. May the Spirit of God be with you. May it cleanse your soul. May it nourish your spirit. Amen.